Good afternoon, everyone. If you'll do me a favor and please silence your cell phones for our ceremony, we would appreciate that. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and get started with our ceremony this afternoon. My name is Frank Jordan, and I'm the National Technical Honor Society sponsor here at Gordon Cooper. On behalf of the Gordon Cooper faculty and staff, we want to welcome you to our 2025 NTHS induction ceremony. It is an honor to have you here as we recognize our and your outstanding students. Cody Jones is going to start us off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the invocation.
Good afternoon. I'm Trustee Wynn. I am going to lead us into this afternoon prayer. Bow with me. Lord, as we gather here today to celebrate the induction of these new members into the National Technical Honor Society, we thank you for generously granting us the gifts and talents which enable us to be successful students and honorable individuals. We give thanks for your guiding hand and teachings, and we seek to make you proud in our pursuits of skillfulness, leadership, service, and character. In your name we pray. Amen. Thank you. Please be seated.
Good afternoon. I am Carson Wolke, a National Technical Honor Society member in the pre-engineering program. I would like to welcome you again to the Gordon Cooper National Technical Honor Society induction ceremony. I would like to thank all Gordon Cooper faculty and staff for helping with our ceremony today. The goal of the National Technical Honor Society is to see that deserving technical students are recognized and that people of the community become aware of the talents and abilities of the young people and adults who choose technical education pathways to a successful future. The NTHS motto reads, Felicita menti instructe favor, which translates from Latin as success favors the prepared mind. The official NTHS slogan is, Excellence in America's workforce begins with excellence in workforce education. Again, we thank you for being here to honor and celebrate our achievements as students.
This year we have a very special speaker that would like to congratulate you for your accomplishments and share words of encouragement. Our speaker today is currently an avid fisherman, an author, and a retired man of leisure. He spent the break between sessions fishing. Before that, he spent 49 years in a career in technical education. He began as a marketing instructor at Putnam City High School. And by way of the Great Plains Technology Center and 2 stints at the State Department of Career Tech, he finished as superintendent and CEO of Francis Tuttle Technology Center. However, even in retirement, he remains a champion of Oklahoma career and technology education. So much so, when I called and begged him to do this, he said he can never say no to career tech because it gave him so much. Please welcome Mr. Tom Friedman.
Thank you, Fred, for that. Frank, for that beautiful announcement. And fishing report from Twin Lakes, they ain't hitting. So, but at any rate, I got to see some good spots, and it's a beautiful lake, and the weather is just fantastic. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me here to celebrate this special occasion. It's truly an honor to be asked to speak to some of our state's brightest and best students. So let me just start by saying congratulations on this great accomplishment. This isn't a small deal, this is a big deal. Figure it like this. This country is running out of people who have the essential skills to keep our economy running. You are not only in the process of getting those skills, but by being selected into the National Technical Honor Society, you have not only demonstrated that you're good at learning those skills, but that you are also a little more disciplined and a little smarter than the rest of your competition. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a proven formula for success. So congratulations again. You are the best of what we need in this country. When it comes to skills, the last year I was at Superintendent Francis Tuttle, we did a little study with our student body, and at Francis Tuttle we had 3,000 students, and it was about 50-50. Half of them were juniors and seniors, a few sophomores, and the other half were young adults. And we found out, our marketing people found out, that our fastest growing market among those adults that we had enrolled at Francis Tuttle were students that already had a 4-year bachelor's degree but couldn't find work. Imagine that, all that debt, and they can't find work. But we found out why, and of course, usually it was mom and dad in the house, you know, they'd move back home and say, hey, get out of the house and get a job, you know, we're tired of supporting you, and go to that career tech center and find a real skill. But what happened was they had these majors that nobody had ever heard of. Nothing wrong with going to college, and I think I'm sure many of you will go to college, but make sure it's a major where there's a demand for the skills that you're going to learn. And I heard of a major the other day. It was called Introspection Appreciation. What is that all about? And, you know, who's going to hire you for that? You know, who's going to be the return on investment for that? So at any rate, I thought that was interesting. And there was another study that this was done much longer ago, but I think it still holds true today. At Harvard, they did a study, and they found out that 90% of the reason a student, you know, gets a skill, 10% of the reason a student gets a job is because of the skills he or she has learned. 90% of the reason that they stay in that job and they get promoted in that job is because of your people skills, your soft skills, you know, your ability to get along, teamwork, showing up on time, and just, you know, looking for things to do. And that's the kind of things that you learn in your career tech student organizations and national technical honor societies. So once again, you're a cut above the rest of the students that may not get that. So remember that 90% of why you get a job and get promoted in that job is your ability to get along with the boss, basically, and everybody else that's working in that employment environment. I'm sure most of you probably heard about the tragic California fires that destroyed so much of their state's beautiful forest and many of its wealthiest residential areas, in addition to the great loss of life. And there are many things that contributed to that tragedy, like a questionable forest management policy, empty reservoirs, and budget cuts. But the one thing that wasn't mentioned, and I think really holds true to those of us in career tech, was, and it wasn't mentioned by the media, but it was something that the fire chief pointed out during her press conference, and she said that one of the reasons they didn't have as many trucks as they needed is because they had some of them broken down and they couldn't find auto mechanics to repair the things. Now, imagine that, you know, that gets, if it's my house that's not getting taken care of because a fire truck is broken down, that's really something that's concerning. So once again, that's a shame, you know, of what can happen when you have a country who is running out of people to do essential work. And a lot of the studies will tell you that if you go to your plumbers, your auto mechanics, your draftsmen, your tradesmen of all kinds, the average age is about 55 years old. Doesn't take a mathematician to figure out that in 10 years you're going to be in trouble when it comes to when those guys retire, and we don't have anybody to replace them. But, you know, it's good to know we have a ready crew right here that's willing and able to replace those. History has shown time and time again that if you don't prepare that you're going to be at peril in a lot of ways. And the Russians, of all people, were really the first to point that out to us. How many of you have ever heard of Sputnik? Show of hands. As the crowd gets younger, you know, you have less and less hands show up. But in 1957, the Russians launched the first satellite in space, and it sent shockwaves throughout the country. America found out they didn't have the technology to accomplish that feat. One congressman famously said it was a national day of shame. And at the time, we were right in the middle of the Cold War, and this was the first sign that we might actually be losing that war. We had to ask ourselves, did the Russians have a better education system than us? Did they have a better economic system than us? Was their political system superior to ours? These are all questions we had at the time that nobody had any answers to. As a direct result of their successful launch into space, our country set out to appropriate the necessary resources to fund the space race, and in 1961, President John F. Kennedy made that bold statement that we would successfully put a human being on the moon before the end of the decade. Well, we did, and the Russians to this day still haven't. But a funny thing happened on the way to the moon. It basically launched modern career tech education. We found out that while we had the resources to catch the Russians and eventually pass them in the space race, it almost didn't happen because of one thing. We discovered that the sophisticated machinery we had developed to take us into space broke down too many times, and when it broke down, there was a shortage of technicians to repair the equipment, and it produced significant delays in the launch dates. They were continually delaying launch dates because the equipment would break down. Well, that doesn't give you a lot of faith if you're an astronaut going into a piece of machinery and that keeps breaking down. And the reason it was breaking down is because we didn't have folks to do the necessary maintenance on it. So the problem got to be so severe that Congress passed a law that provided a lot of money to the states to establish their own career tech systems, just like the one you have here in Shawnee, Oklahoma. The goal of those schools was to supply our country with the technicians and craftsmen it needed. And what a perfect name you guys decided to call your school, named after one of the original astronauts who was born right here in Shawnee. Gordon Cooper was the first human to take 2 orbital flights and during an 8-day endurance mission. This was 2 orbit flights to see if mankind could survive, weightlessness for that long. But he was probably most famous for flying his spacecraft that had broken down when the computer broke down. And he had a successful manual landing that wasn't supposed to be. And there you go, another breakdown that could have ended up in tragedy and could have been prevented by a technician that may have been trained here at Gordon Cooper Technology if one would have been in existence at that time. Gordon Cooper, if it wouldn't have been for his skill and courage, that thing could have ended up in a grave tragedy and set the space race back. All it takes is one tragedy, and all of a sudden it's all, let's stop and hold and see what's going on. But fortunately, he was able to successfully land that spacecraft. He was truly made of the right stuff. As a matter of fact, they made a movie a while back called About the Right Stuff, and it was about those original astronauts. Of course, Gordon Cooper was one of them. And I noticed coming in today, you had a picture of Gordon Cooper down at Ticker Tape Parade, waving at everybody. So I think you should really be proud that your school's namesake is one of those guys. Because what that does is that makes you Gordon Cooper Tech guys. That's like someone saying he graduated with honors from Harvard. Because you made the NTHS cut, you can say that you're graduating with honors from Gordon Cooper Tech. Our Oklahoma system of career tech centers was born from the space race with the Russians, and you're keeping that tradition alive at the namesake school named for a famous astronaut. It's more appropriate now than it ever was, as our country has recommitted itself to going back to the moon. We're going to put a man on the moon again, and we're going to establish a space colony. And as ridiculous as that may sound, imagine in 1961, and I was alive then, when President Kennedy said, we're going to put a man on the moon, because that used to be a joke. You say, I'm going to be a billionaire someday, and they said, yeah, and I'm going to go to the moon. And that was the joke, but we found out we could do it. So why not a space colony on the moon? And then eventually, it's my understanding, we're going to use the moon as a stopping point to refuel and go on to Mars. So, literally the sky's the limit, space is the limit. So you see, you've got the perfect brand at the perfect time to market yourself to the world. When I was about your age, and before we landed a man on the moon, a famous pastor, author, and motivational speaker, Norman Vincent Peale, once said that in making personal goals for yourself, you should always shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Well, National Technical Honor students, maybe today in making your own career goals, you should revise that statement a bit and say, I'm going to shoot for Mars. Even if I miss, I'll wind up with the stars. That even rhymes. Might make a pretty good little personal slogan for you all to use. Go for the Mars, shoot for the Mars. And it's all here right in front of you. You can seize the moment, literally. Put it to your advantage. You've got the school with its marvelous equipment, facilities. You've got the faculty who has the expertise and genuine desire to help you get there. And it's the perfect brand to launch your career. And most importantly, you've already shown you have the drive by being accepted into the National Technical Honor Society. There's nothing stopping you. Once again, I'd like to thank you and encourage you to continue your journey into outer space. You guys are made of the right stuff. Thank you for inviting me, and have a great career out there in outer space.
I would like to thank Mr. Friedman for taking the time to be part of our ceremony and for sharing those inspiring words. My name is Caleb Holbrook, NTH member. Kyla Marshall and I will now share the 7 attributes of National Technical Honor Society. In the center of the table is a lighted candle representing knowledge. Knowledge is familiarity, awareness, or understanding gained through experience or study. This candle represents the knowledge you have gained through experience and study in your vocational program. The first member attribute is skill. Skill is the knowledge to develop great ability and the expertise necessary to make a positive difference in a particular occupational field. We light this candle to represent skill. The second member attribute is honesty. Honesty is a quality of being truthful, trustworthy, and fair with everyone while at work or play. We light this candle to represent honesty. The third member attribute is service. Service is giving assistance and being ready and able to provide a helpful and useful act.
The fourth member attribute is responsibility. Responsibility involves the ability to act without guidance or superior authority and being answerable for your actions. We light this candle to represent responsibility. The fifth member attribute is scholarship. Scholarship is the distinctive mark of one who has mastered an area of learning, as reflected in the quality of his or her work, especially with respect to scope, thoroughness, and care. We light this candle to represent scholarship. The sixth member attribute is citizenship. Citizenship is being entitled with full civil rights and exercising the duties, rights, and privileges of this status. We light this candle to represent citizenship. The seventh member attribute is leadership. Leadership is the responsibility of serving as a guiding force and directing the way by going first with courage and confidence. We light this candle to represent leadership.
And we'd like to thank and recognize Miss Sophia Clanton for being our candle lighter. That is more difficult than it looks. Students, we hope you recognize these 7 attributes in yourselves and value these qualities, which make you eligible for membership in the National Technical Honor Society. Inductees will now be introduced one at a time and presented their pins and certificates. Here is our superintendent, Mrs. Julie McCormick, to introduce you, and the directors will present your pins.
Boo. I want to thank all of our guests today for being here to celebrate these students, and congratulations to all of the students that are being inducted today for your hard work, your dedication, and your representation in your program and all of your efforts to do so many fantastic things. Ashley Fickner, our partner school outreach director, is joining me this morning. Or this evening. Start with her. Students. We will recognize our practical nursing students. Rebecca McKinley. Jessica Branneman. Savannah Rogers. Next, health careers, Miss Megan Malouf's class. Brianna Fisher. Willow Del Rio. Cameron Black. Hope Streeter. Riley McLean. Miguel Gutierrez. Gwendolyn Fowler. Madison Roberts. Next, Health Careers Class Elizabeth Jones students. Landon Dodge. Gracelyn Austin. Lana Asher. Emily Wilson. Bailey Lane. Lily Ingersoll Kidd. Our Seminole Campus Health Careers class, Miss Samantha Knowles students. Xavier Ellis. Hannah Yacht. Luna Lovelace. Riley Harkness. Next, our digital career students from Miss Betty Lawrence's class. Sosie Tucker. Pleasant Hudgens. Michaela Gilliam. From our CNC machining class, Mr. Brewer's students, Caleb Phillips. Robert Royal. Miss Kelly Wilson joined me for her students. Our Director of Instruction. We'll start with pre-engineering. Yuan Dong. Lionel Karen. Quentin Wilson. Holly Turner. Kimber Samsel. Cody Miller. Micaiah Meek. Jake Lynn. Damian Gregory. Morgan Gray. Next, students from our aviation program, Davina Cook. Anthony Bland. Jonathan Fulgham. Austin Francis. Next, from Jessica Utter's Business Education Program, Sadie Cousins. Adriana Rivera. Is that Jessica's? No. Okay. Is that me? Okay. Ava Glaive. Sorry, Ava. Next, from Mr. Tarpey's computer networking class, Trey Barton. Mary Mimnaugh. Nicholas Brandon. Sidonia Laughlin. Jai Murdoch. Next, our Director of Instruction, Rayanne Schaefer. If you'll join me. We'll start with recognizing Early Care and Education, Miss Carrie Laxton's class, Brooklyn Eyestone. Okay. Haley Campbell. Elizabeth St. Laurent. Kerrigan Curbs. Jade Hanks. Okay. Next will be cosmetology, Miss Pamela Fry's students. Addison Brown. Megan Barnes. Cody Wilkerson. Elizabeth Washburn. Kaylin Mushavin. Jacob Medrano. Claire Holland. Next, I'll have Mr. Jeremy Fry join me for his program. We will start with graphic design, Miss Gay Ketchum's students, Polly Stone. Bailey Knox. Matthew Gregory. Next, Mr. Cliff Kincaid's Auto Service Technology. Victoria Blanco. Next, our CNC machining, his instructor, Danny Mosier, his student, Caleb Nichols. We're going to treat Miss Wilson like a yo-yo. Come join me. Yeah. We're going to recognize our Mr. Troy Thompson students, our criminal justice and emergency services students. Amy Moreno. Susanna Burkhead. Cadence Sina. And Austin Hagen. Just want to say one more congratulations to you students for this accomplishment.
Welcome, students. You are now official members of National Technical Honor Society. New members, please stand and join us in reciting the NTHS pledge located on the back of your program. We might wait until they come back around. As a member of the National Technical Honor Society, I pledge to maintain the highest standard of personal conduct. I will apply myself and to continue a record of scholastic achievement, and I will strive for excellence in all aspects of my education. I will invest my talents, my skills, and my knowledge in a career of my own choosing, and shall always endeavor to uphold my obligations as a citizen of my community and my country.
I would like to congratulate each of you for your accomplishments thus far and congratulate you on becoming members of NTHS. We can't wait to see what you do in the future. Thank you all for taking part in our ceremony. I want to thank those who helped put this on. I know it says that I'm the sponsor, but my lovely math crew helped me, and I could not have done it without them. And graphic design and business, Mrs. Utter's class, we're probably for this, so thank you so much. Students, you're always so willing to help. We thank you all for coming, and again, congratulations. Seminole, your bus is located at the south entrance, and it is ready to go. Not to kick you out or anything, but get on the bus. Dismissed. Goodbye.